Hey everybody, welcome to Every Damn Friday. Man, we've done like 23 in a row. I don't know if I've ever done anything for this long consistently, but I'm very, very lucky tonight and honored to have a Kentucky treasure, a national champion fiddler. He's in the Fiddlers Hall of Fame, newly inducted into the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame, uh, and a neighbor, or at least he used to be. Uh, from Evely, Kentucky, Mr. Jimmy Mattingly. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for asking me to do this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey, so there tens of people are going to watch this. Uh, and not all of them will know the story of Jimmy Mattingly, but of course, I'm from Breckinridge County, and you grew up in Grayson County. Um,
Cool. Yeah,
and for the people that don't know, what a special place for a musician to grow up.
yeah, yeah. It was, and it still is, but it was just the perfect environment, to keep you motivated and
Who was your
inspired.
orchestra instructor?
Yeah, Jesse Haycraft.
Yes.
Yeah, and all that was just, happened. It was perfectly laid out. When I started playing, they just started the orchestra program at school. Of
And
course,
and 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 how rare is that for a rural place like Grayson County to have an orchestra?
it's pretty wild. I know back then it was really rare, and and we had a great orchestra too. I mean, it was like I think we got a 1+ at festival, and they said they haven't gave those hardly in
Of
the
course, Mr.
history of
Haycraft
it.
was a wizard.
He was, and he was a stickler, but he knew exactly how to get the best out of somebody, and if you could take it, I mean, he would work you over. He had this thing about trying to make you. He knew where your limit was, and he would push you a little bit past that.
Kind of like the
And
army. They break you down and then build you back up.
he was a lot like that, that probably was part of his philosophy. But I've my son, he just finished his doctorate program at Indiana on French horn, so he's had a lot of really great. And he went to Eastman School of Music, so he had really great professors, and I kind of got to be around them and watch a little bit of their working with him and stuff. And watching them, I realized that we got lucky in Grayson County. We had a college level professor teaching our orchestra, and because
No,
he could hang with any of those people. He knew exactly how to get it out of you, and consequently, we had, and there was a lot of fiddlers even still before that around that area, and musicians, Brett County and Grayson County and all around there. There's so many musicians, and when I was coming up through it, I was playing fiddle, and of course, everybody's parents in that neck of the woods was like, telling their kids that were playing classical music, you need to learn how to play whatever that kid's playing, because that that's what we like.
yes.
So everybody kind of, the ones that really wanted to do it jumped on it. And so, it was Ed Carnes and Mark Ralph and Eric Payton were playing fiddle in school when I was playing fiddle in school. And they were all like a year, and two of them were a year behind me, and Eric was 2 years behind me. But we were all at high school sitting and playing fiddle music constantly.
Well,
So,
and in my case, growing up, I had a wonderful choral teacher,
yeah.
Kathy Tabor, and it was like she made it the fun thing to do, and we were the cultural event of Brett County every year when we had spring reviews and concerts. Like that was a big deal. Of course, you all had the old time fiddler contest just right there in your backyard.
Yeah, that started the year that I started playing. Uh, me and my dad went out to Jody Hall, had a monument place there in Litchfield, and my dad's mom had passed away, and we went out there to talk to him about a monument, and he was like, "Yeah, I play." He played upright bass, and we're going to start this fiddle competition, and so they so that year I was just getting started playing. My dad played. My dad
Okay.
grew, played his whole life, and I grew up around it my whole life because my dad played guitar and fiddle, and he always had a band, and there was always people playing, and he was doing radio shows and stuff, and I thought all that was just big time,
Oh
and
yeah.
so when we went out there, so they were getting the first contest started, and they were going to have it at the fairgrounds in
Okay.
Litchfield, and it rained it out, and they moved it to the courthouse. So that was the very first year, and they had some good fiddlers show up for it too. They had J.T. Perkins, I think, was there the first year, and some really great fiddlers. And I was in the beginner fiddle category, and I
Did you
won.
did you cook them?
And I won it that year, but I was just getting started. But so happened I won it, and
Well,
so
we
that
used to camp out. We used to camp out at Tailwater at Rough River
Oh yeah,
all the
yeah.
time as a kid, and it was like that was the one weekend we couldn't go because it was all booked up.
Well, yeah, and when they moved it to there, it really became huge. I mean, it was man, my God, it was. But and as that went on, then so fast forward to 1976, back in the 1900s.
Most of my
I was
career was
down
in the
there.
1900s too.
And I was a kid, down there, and I was getting pretty good, I thought. And I was like, okay, I'm getting this down pretty good. I can play some really slick, whatever, Devil's Dream or Bill Cheatham or something, and then more, and I and like when I started playing, I was at 9 years old. I heard about this kid. I mean, back then we didn't have internet, and nobody hardly knew much about anybody. But through the grapevine, I'd heard about this kid from Washington, which seemed like another country,
Oh yeah.
and Mark O'Connor.
Oh
So
man.
and everybody was saying this kid was good, and I was like, I wonder how good this kid is. When you're a kid like that, man,
You're gonna size them up.
yeah, you're bulletproof. And so it was like, so he came, that year his mom and his sister and him traveled across the country, in a van, I think, pretty much. And uh they went to every bluegrass festival, and everybody kind of knew who he was, because by then it was, I see.
Well, it wasn't bluegrass culture, like because Paul kind of gave me my bluegrass education, but uh, I mean there was as much jamming going on outside of the festival
Yeah,
as there was on stage.
yeah, there always was. And that's, when I wasn't playing in the band, playing the festival, I was there doing that, coming up through the ranks and everything. But so we were 14. Well, at the time, I hadn't heard that much of him because I just didn't have access to it. But at 14, Mark O'Connor was wearing it out. So he shows up, and it was like, oh my God, it was like watching Steve Vai play fiddle.
Michael
I'm like,
Jordan showed up.
it's like this guy, oh my gosh. And his sister, she was young, about my, well, no, me and him's about the same age. He's a little bit older than me, but, she was about 12, and she was scorching too. And I went, man, I don't know what they're doing, but whatever that is they're doing, I've got to figure that out. And so,
Well, and I think that's what made you special. Where some people would look at that and go, "Nope, it's not for me.
well,
Maybe I should be an electrician."
and I was in the orchestra at that time. So there I am, I'm playing stuff that's getting a little bit more intricate and hard, and fairly advanced, because Mr. Haycraft would push you as far as you could go. And so somebody said, you need to go see Charlie Butler in Elizabethtown. So Butler's Music in Elizabethtown, and Charlie was a big fiddle contest guy. So Charlie had everybody's albums. He went to Weezer, Idaho. He knew all about it. So I went up there, and he kind of saw that I was really interested, and that I was doing pretty good at it. And so he gave me a bunch of records. He said, here, take these home, work on them. That was in 76, that was summer of 76. And so the winter of 76, 77, I camped out in my room with the record player, and I learned all I could. And so in like January of 77, Charlie says, I'm going down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's a big fiddle contest. You want to go with me? And I said, sure, I'll go with you and try some of this new stuff. And man, and I was a perfectionist. So, I wanted to get it where every time I played the song, I never messed up once,
Right.
and it was just my goal. And so I went down and I think I got like fifth, which was pretty good. I mean, that was with
Respectable.
the big boys, that was in the big deal. And so then I met that year I met Gary Davis, the banjo player, this 5-time national banjo champion, and a guy named Justin Demps, and we all played. Same thing started happening. I had a bunch of buddies and we were playing all the time. And so then I got, the classical stuff was coming up and the fiddle stuff was happening. And I was just eat, breathe, and sleep in it. I mean, everything, nothing. I missed all the rock and roll in the '70s. I've had to go back and get
Because you were
reacquainted
woodshedding.
with it because I had no interest in anything but just some fiddle. And so that's how that all got started. And then over time, uh, you know, uh, probably I would have started getting a little bored with that, but um, there was a bluegrass band out in Litchfield called Old Blue, and they were pretty serious band. They were really good band, and they said, "Do you want to come play fiddle with us?" And I thought, it'd be kind of fun to go play with some guys. I don't really know much about this, but I've kind of seen it at these contests.
Right.
And so I went and started playing with those guys, and kind of started learning how to play with the singer and songs and things like that. And so that really kept me interested and kept me excited. And then it
And
just
then
went on from there.
well, and at what point did the Grascals come into play?
Oh, that was way later,
Okay.
way later because uh, then I started playing around, trying to find any bunch of group guys I could play with, do
At
stuff
this
with.
point, are you still living at home, or
Still
you
living,
had you already moved,
no,
or
I'm still living at home, and that was pretty quick. I was only probably 16 then,
okay,
so
gotcha.
all that happened fast. And then as time went by, I got to know some kids around home, and I started playing some with Brad Flood and some of the guys
Oh
over
man,
there.
Brad's my
I,
cousin.
you might want to delete that, but
Hey, he's the best. He's the best mandolin player selling pocket knives on Facebook that ever lived.
he is.
Right?
Yeah. What a talented guy. I
Oh
swear
my
I never
god!
ran across a more talented guy because the guy would just goof off and he could play
And
anything.
smoke you. Yeah.
He could pick it up and play it, but he really never ever like said, I'm gonna be great at this. It was just
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna have fun. And I think that's pretty much him. He's just
I
gonna
was gonna
have
say
fun.
that
Yeah.
if you put something on a T-shirt, it's like I'm here to have fun.
He's gonna sell a knife, he's gonna have fun doing it.
Yep.
But that was just fun. I mean, that was great. I mean, I'll tell a story since you probably got a lot of people watch this that might know him. We go to Memphis and we're playing down in the we're going to play at the Memphis in May, I believe it was. Anyway, it rained it out, or we wound up at the Orpheum
Okay.
Theater, big nice theater.
Yeah.
And JD Crow's down there with Keith Whitley, and he's down there. And we're going to play, and everybody's kind of hanging out on stage, and there's a PA. There's these PA speakers on each side, and we start seeing these speakers start to tip over, and somebody screams, "Oh my God, get the speakers." And we're like, "What's happening?" And as we're standing there watching people grab speakers, we see this body coming up with his hands in the air going, they're going, "Push the red button." And he's like, "Where's the red button?" And it's Brad. He had gone down and got on the organ, the pipe organ down, and hit the up button. And this thing, and they said it's got to go all the way to the top before it'll go back down. So here's Brad standing on that organ, man, and he's like, and I'm standing there going, "Oh my God, I can't believe, we're all, you know."
That's Brad.
But there you go. But that was a lot of fun, and we had a good time, and we had a good band. Actually, we played the Kentucky Fried Chicken Festival and did a lot of stuff up there, and um, it was great. And I was doing that actually I'm rambling, but this is kind of how it
No.
all. I went to I went to Lexington with Kenny White, which is now the head of the IBMA, but he lived in Louisville and was a banjo player, and his sister Sis that played bass. And we went up to the Festival of the Bluegrass the day before I was going to go to the Grand Masters, and that was night we'd gone fast forward to 1981. Um, and so I'm out there, like we were talking, out in the field jamming, and this guy comes up. Hugh Sturgill was his name, and he goes, "Hey, I want to introduce you to some guys over here that that's good friends of mine. They got a bluegrass band, and I'd like for you to go play for them." So I go over there, and he introduces me to Spectrum, which was Bela Fleck and Mark Schatz and Glenn Lawson and Jimmy Gaudreau. And so I played a couple tunes with them, and they said, "What are you doing tomorrow? We're going to play. You want to play with us?" And I said, "Oh my God, I'd love to, but I've got to go to Nashville for the Grand Masters." And Glenn said, "Call me on Monday and let me know, how you do." And so there you go. Once again, the Lord,
Serendipity.
just laid it out there for me, and I won that year. So I called and said, "Yeah, I won." He goes, "You want to go? You don't want to go on tour with us?" And so I went out with him on a 6-week tour to the Northeast, and he said, "Yeah, you want to join the band?" Then that the band was doing great. We went to Japan, did a live in Japan record, and then Bela got an offer to go to Newgrass Revival. And he was like, "Man, I don't know what I should do." And I went, "Well, you've asked the wrong guy, because I'm a Newgrass Revival
Yeah.
maniac, you
Yeah.
know. And I said, "I think you got to do it." I mean, they were getting signed to Capitol, and
As a friend, you have to tell him.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I
yeah,
had
yeah,
I had a friend that was playing drums for us who was going to get his audition to join a major country artist band was on the Opry, and he's like, "If
yeah,
I do well, it's my job." He said, "What should I do?" I said, "You're fired.
yeah. There
you
you
don't have a,
go.
you don't have a job anymore, so you
There
better
you
take
go.
that one."
So that kind of started the ball rolling, and then I wound up in Louisville playing with Mike Lunsford, and that band was amazing. Tommy White was a steel player, and so I would sit there with him for 3 or 4 years and play with him, and that Rex Wiseman was in the band. A bunch of Hank Rose was in the band. It was a great band, and we and then things started slowing down in the club scene up there. Things were just really slowing down for all the clubs. And I got a call to go on the road with the Forster sisters. And one of the manager's dad had lived in Litchfield, and the manager was telling him, "We're looking for a fiddle player." And the dad said, "Well, if you need a fiddle player, Jimmy Bagley's the guy. Don't look no further. Call him right." So he said, "My dad told me to call you."
Yeah, I'm glad he listened to it.
And then a couple of guys were in the band that were contest players. Roy Curry had won the national flat picking championship, and so anyway, they gave me a good, nod too. And
Of course, that's a time when being in a bluegrass band was hard. I mean, this is you're just festival after festival after festival, and it was hard to make a living.
yeah, it's been that way up until just really recently. But so, but I did that all happened, and then man, the whole story's just crazy. But I did that, and and I got a phone call from Steve Warner, and he said, "Man, I was just calling to see what you got going on." And I was like, "Man, I've been here with the Forsters, which I loved the gig. I loved them. It was all great, but I just felt like I was getting stale." And he goes, I said, "Well, I've been out with the Forsters. What you got?" And he goes, I've got this new single, "Where Did I Go Wrong," coming out with, and I need a fiddle for it. Would you be interested in doing it? And I'm not sure I'm gonna keep a fiddle, but I need one for a while." And I went, "Man, I might be out of a job in a few months, but I think I'm going to take the jump." And I love Steve, and he's a
Oh yeah.
great, what a a musician
What
and a
year would that
guy.
have been?
That was 1989.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
were you did you tour with him for a while?
For just a tiny little bit, because when he
Well, the
called,
reason I asked you is because the very first concert I ever went to was Steve Warner, Sawyer Brown, and Hank Jr. at
I
Freedom Hall.
don't think I did any of that.
All right, I was going to say because it was going to be neat if you were at that show, and then also at the show when I was 18 that made me decide I want to do music for the rest of my life. So
Now
I'll
he
leave that for a minute. But I was
no
going to
no
say,
and consequently, a guy was putting a band together for Dolly. She was putting her Mighty Fine band together in 1989. It was going to be for 5 years they were on a tour, do the records, everything. With this band's the band, and I knew him. And I knew him, and I knew several of the guys in the band. But he was married to one of the Forster sisters. So when I quit,
you
he
weren't
called.
sure if that bridge was
He
going to be there.
so he called me and he goes, "Hey, I heard you quit the girls. Do you want to do the Dolly job?" So I'm going, "Oh crap! I just took this thing with Steve, but it was temporary, so it wasn't like it was like a full-time job, and it was the end all
It's
job.
Dolly.
It was going on in Nashville. It was going to be the epic gig, and I went, man, yeah, I'll do it. And so I did that, and for 5 years I did that, and then in between that time, I went out. I went out a couple summers when she was doing movies with the Osborne brothers, because
Oh
I'd
man.
done all that bluegrass with Spectrum and all that. But then all through the '80s, I didn't do any bluegrass anymore, and I was like, man, I'd really love to do it. And I had some friends, and I was kind of jamming around with,
And they
and
were boundary pushers too.
yeah, but man, I'm here to tell you about it. They were smoking it when I went out with them. It
I mean,
just
Sonny
it
Wood, when
was
he's talking about Steve
fun.
Vai, like he was like I don't know, he was the Jimi Hendrix of banjo.
Yeah, he's pretty. Yeah, I think sometimes he did stuff just to get under Bobby's skin, maybe. But that's what I always thought. But they were just incredible, and they were awesome. And Bobby was a big, huge fiddle fan. I never knew that. He knew every fiddler from Alabama that I knew. He knew every obscure fiddle player around. So we
Now,
talked about
did
fiddle.
he? I mean, did he play fiddle? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I
he
was gonna
did.
say,
Yeah, we worked up like twin fiddle, Tom and Jerry, a bunch of really stuff you would never do, but we did it, and we play it on stage. And but that that was incredible. When I went out one whole summer with them, and when I went back to Dolly after doing that, I was in my mind, I was like, whatever you got, I got it. I mean, I'm dialed up to the top of my game right here now, because it pushed me. And Sonny would, you know, if you didn't play it great, Sonny would be like, "Well, what was that all about, Matt?"
yeah, why we
you
paying
know,
you? Like
yeah,
we brought you here because you're supposed to be the best.
yeah. But and he also he pushed you if you were great. He was like, you could tell he liked it. So I did that, and Dolly, and that went on, and then she quit touring. And then for about a year, I did Brooks and Dunn for a while, and I did some other gigs, Pam Tillis, and went out with Susan Ashton. She was a contemporary Christian artist. She was going to Europe, going to open for Garth, and she was a big contemporary Christian artist. And so the band she put together was Jimmy Lee Sloas on bass, which he's like one of the greatest ever bass players, and Gordon Kennedy, who wrote "Change the World," was playing electric guitar, and so the band was awesome, and we went and opened for Garth for like 2 weeks in Europe. Well, Garth, he paid attention to the show and everybody that was in that band, and everybody that was in that band has done something with him now. And Gordon's out working with us now.
Okay,
And him and Gordon wrote almost all, or co-wrote almost all the stuff on the Chris Gaines project.
really?
So they're really that opened the doors for a lot of us, but it opened the door for me because Garth was recording his Fresh Horses album, and he was doing Fever, and Rob Hayjack has played 98% of all the fiddle on Garth's stuff. And Rob just was like, man, I don't get it. And Rob's a great guy, man. He's one of my idols. And so Garth was like, well, I don't know who we're going to call. I don't know what we're going to do. And the girl that's working in the office, Debbie Nims, that was married to Harley Allen, she said, well, why don't you get Jimmy, the guy who played with Susan Ashton? And he said, yeah, I think, yeah, I like what he did. Let me call him. So he called me himself,
He,
said,
of
hey, I don't
course
know
he
if
did.
this is anything you'd want to do or not, but, and so I went in there and I was nervous as all get out. And the song was just smoking fast and it was just crazy and all out of control, which was perfect for a guy that was really nervous, that had played some bluegrass. And so I was like, I just pulled out everything I could just
Yep.
pull out of my nervous
You didn't
self.
save any licks.
It was all over the place. He's like, that's perfect. And so that kind of that opened the door for that for me to get that gig. And so that's been, ongoing now for 30
30
years.
years.
You
How
know,
many years now?
it's 30 years.
Wow.
But and then he took 14 off. So
but were you always still kind of like on staff? Like if he was going to go play a show, like
yeah, if he went and played, he would call me, and that kind of did create that did cause a little bit of problems for me because I was trying to work with people. Wasn't a problem, but it was just if people were good with it, then it was okay. If they weren't
right.
good with it, well, then they'd have to get somebody else.
Because you still did some Dolly stuff and still did.
And the way that all worked out, I never had a conflict. The first conflict I ever had was like in 2014, I think, early in 14. Dolly went to Europe. As the first time I missed anything with her, and and he and Garth and I just had this feeling. I thought, man, I better not go because Garth, we're getting ready to go back out, and he may need me. And we did Jay Leno's final show, and during that when she was gone, and I went, man, I'm glad I didn't go because it was always nerve wracking. I never wanted to leave anybody in a bind, and I didn't leave Steve in a bind that time. I left him either because I said. I told, I felt really horrible about it because, Steve's just an awesome guy. And, even though it was only going to be a temporary gig, but he wound up keeping fiddle player forever, pretty much. I told him, I said, I got a guy for you. If I can talk him into it, you'll forget I ever existed. and so I called Jeff Guernsey. And I said, Jeff, man, I know you ain't interested in going out on the road with anybody, but he knew who Steve was. And I think Steve knew who he was. And I said, but you ain't going to beat Steve as a guy. He's an awesome guy and as a musician and the whole band. I told him, I said, Jeff, this whole band is just killer guys, killer musicians. You got to do it.
Jeff's played here in my barn before.
And you'll be bailing me out. And it's going to be good for everybody. And we'll just all go like nothing ever happened. And so Jeff he did it. And they did. I don't think they missed me 1 second.
Oh, he's a killer.
And then he went from that to Vince. So it got him out of the house.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's hard to get him away from home now. They play pretty close to Louisville. Him and Steve Cooley and Beeblehauser and them.
He figured out how to do that, and that's what he loves doing. And he's a monster. He's always been one of my favorite fiddlers of all fiddlers.
A lot of taste.
Oh yeah, just everything he plays is great. And but anyway, I never had too many conflicts. But I was doing a show with Garth at Padre Island. And Dolly was going to do a bluegrass album, and they said, "You interested in doing it?" I said, "Sure." We don't know if there's going to be a tour. Well, there was a tour, and Garth was done, so I went and did that Halos and Horns record, and did a tour with her on that, and then when that ended, I was like, I'd been going to the Station Inn, and playing some, and Jamie Johnson and Terry Eldridge was playing with the sideman. And I noticed that Terry was right-handed and Jamie was left-handed, and they sounded really good together. And I thought, man, that looks so good. Those two dudes with their guitar necks going opposite. I thought, man, we almost could have a band. And so we all got together at Jamie's and we would play. And Dave Talbot was playing banjo around, and we were like, we pretty much got a band. So, okay, let's put a band together. And So we called Danny Roberts because Danny's been my buddy ever since. He was my rhythm guy. He was in high school with us, so back insert him into all that. He was the guy that played guitar with all of us while we were playing fiddle tunes and everything else. And Danny was and Danny was my neighbor. And
I mean, how crazy is that?
I'll tell you how that story and what all this, if you go back and listen to all this that I've told you, you really will realize that the Lord's he's got,
brother,
he's got a plan for you. And because none of that would just happen like that.
No, it was him just like
yeah,
moving chess pieces around for you.
yeah, you're right. Because we had a bunch of pigs in a barn lot down there on our farm, and I bet it was nearly a mile up to Danny's house. Danny lived up the hill. We lived in a holler, and Danny lived up on the hill and on back the road just a piece. And so it was a pretty good ways. Well, these pigs got loose. I don't know. Usually pigs will just root around the same area. These pigs went all the way to their house, and they rooted up their front yard. So me and my dad went up there to get them. And when we was talking to Danny's dad, he said, "Yeah, my son's trying to learn how to play guitar, and he'd had a hip surgery and he couldn't go to school. And he said, why don't you come up and play some with him?" So I went up and I was like, "Hey, Danny, here, play these chords here with me, and I'll play the fiddle." And so that's how that started. And me and him played church. We'd go to the gospel barn over there in Brett County and play. We played everywhere, And so that relationship, I'd played with him with New Tradition, and recorded with them. And we just had known each other our whole lives pretty much. And so he was the guy, and he'd become, amazing mandolin player. It was like, well, let's call Danny. He's the guy. I'd love to play with Danny. I'd love to be able to just hang out with him. And so we called Danny, and then in the Osborne brothers, it was me and Terry Eldridge and Terry Smith that were the band with them. So obviously Terry Smith's our guy we need to call.
Yeah.
And so we called Terry Smith, and everybody was having a hard time committing to doing the bluegrass band, because, man, when you're starting a bluegrass band from scratch, you better have something else going on, because you're going to start. Well, Dolly found out about it. She goes, I heard you guys got a band. Well, we had cut some songs and played for Rounder Records.
Okay.
And I've known Ken Irwin since the Spectrum days. So Ken come, and he knew Terry Eldridge and Terry Smith. He knew everybody. And so he come and listened to us, and he said, "I don't see any reason why this won't work. Y'all just got to he started hitting us up with the things that we hadn't thought about, like, how are you going to get around? Do you got a vehicle you can travel in? Well, no. Yeah, and things that you hadn't done it, you didn't think about things like that.
Right.
But then Dolly found out about it, and she said, "I want to hear your band." So I was like, "Oh, okay. We've got some songs we just recorded. I'll come." She said, bring them over and play them for me." So I came over and played her the songs, and she said, "How would y'all like to do some recording with me, and maybe we'll do some touring?" It was like, well, heck yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Queen. Whatever you say, Queen.
Yeah, right. So so we did. We worked up songs. It was really cool. We did it like the old rockers used to do in California and stuff, and bands. We sat around in a big circle in a room, and we worked these songs
Figured it out.
and figured everything, and had all the arrangements, and then we went in and recorded everything, and then we went on tour. Well, that gave everybody income to drop what they were doing and come and be a band. So there we were a band. So we were Dolly, and also we were Dolly's band. So that was a big promotion for the band.
So did you all like open and then you played with Dolly? Is that how that worked?
Yeah, I think we did. I think that's what we did. Yeah, like Radio City Music Hall and all that stuff like that. We open, we do a set, and then we would be in the band. So we did that, you know, for a long time. And Dolly was still doing some stuff on and off, and then she decided she wasn't going to do the bluegrass thing anymore. Well, there'd been, you know, a few years in that time, and I'd been doing Grascals. We've been doing that, and honestly, it was rough to try to make the kind of living that I had been used to, I guess. You
Yeah.
know, it was like it was a big drop off. And like I said back then, like now I kind of know what guys make, what the bands make, and it's a whole lot more than it was back then. It was hard to squeak anything out of anybody.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's become a little more, you know, live music has become the income stream now.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So
I mean, because and that I've tried to explain that to people. I'm like, nowadays nowadays with the 360 deals and all that, I don't know where anybody makes money, but during that time, the record companies were making money from the records.
from the
You
records.
could, but you could tour as much as you wanted, and if you wanted to go play 200 days, most of that money was yours.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what you know, Garth's manager was telling us that back in the 2007, 8, 9, something like that. He said it's getting ready to be live performance is going to be the income for artists. And so
You just look at a record as an advertising cost. That's how
yeah,
people find out about you. It's kind of like when you put singles in the jukebox a long time ago.
yeah, yeah.
They, you're not going to make any money on that end, but it may get them into the door to buy a ticket.
Yeah, and that's the way it's happened now, which is great. I think a lot of people, if you're not in the position to get, you know, top radio play or big huge exposure like CMA award shows and Grammys and things like that, then you can just start your own little grassroots thing. And like our, you know, audio company, um, you know, Claire Brothers and stuff, they do a lot of tours, and they do tours with people I've never heard of.
Right.
And they're playing like sold out arenas.
Well, I had a friend at one time, because Jericho Woods was kind of in that place where we were close to maybe needing some label help and things like that. But I
Yeah.
also had friends who were like worked at Red Light and different places. Was like, like, if you get to that point, like, do you really need a manager? Do you really need a record label? Like, why don't you try to figure out a way to do it at a level to where you're making money and you're keeping most of it instead of just, handing it all over, and then you end up owing a bunch of money when it's all said and done. Thankfully, we never took a deal where we owed somebody, $500,000 or something and had to try to work it off.
Yeah, now great managers. I've always said that great managers, you know, a really good thing. And we had some help with that when we were doing the Graskels. Because I asked Dolly, I said, you know, we're thinking about getting a manager. What would your advice be for that? And Dolly went, well, 90% of something's better than 100% of nothing.
I guess she knew.
I went, okay, I know what you're saying. She
Yes.
didn't want to say, yeah. She just said that. And I went, okay.
And it's probably a necessary evil, but
If you get a good one, I mean, you know,
yeah.
somebody that can really do things for you. I mean, because that's what it's about. It's about, you know, pulling those strings and
And they
making
got to
things
love you.
happen.
They got to be willing to lay down in the road for you.
Yeah,
And if you have to beg them to represent you, you're probably not going to get much.
right. And there's some great ones out there, man. The relationships between a lot of artists and their longtime managers, like Garth is a perfect example. That's just amazing, that relationship he's got and the respect he's got for Bob Doyle. And that just, Bob believed in him, though, you know, from the
Yeah.
word go. And it's like,
Because he was a gamble. Because he was a wild card.
yeah. But Bob, super smart guy, but, but the loyalty stayed there too,
Let's
which is
let's
great to
talk about
see.
let's talk about some of your shows that you played. So so at the very beginning, and I was reading bios and stuff, and I've known a lot about you, but I didn't know everything. And so Roy Acuff invited you to the Opry the first time you played it.
Yeah, yeah. That's when I won the Grandmasters. I went the next year and played on Roy's show.
Wow.
Played for Roy. Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
at the Ryman then, or was it at the new place?
At the new place. It was
Okay.
during it was Saturday night fanfare week.
Oh,
So man, it was
it couldn't have been bigger. What
I
about now? What are some of the most unusual places you played with Garth? I guess you were at the in New York when he played the Park.
Central Park, yeah. Yeah, that was surreal, almost like we all talk about it, and it's like we were just the only thing I can kind of think it's similar to is being a ball player and playing like for the national championship, and you're
Yeah.
on a team, and and you've got the play. Here's the play. I got to do the play. I mean, you can't get too wrapped up in what's going on because the adrenaline's already there. You
I
got
mean,
to
what was
take
that?
care
Was
of
it a million people?
that. It was pretty much a million people. It was as far you couldn't see all the people, and it was just as far as you could see around the. They had a screen so the people that were around the turn, way down through the field, could see the screen.
I mean, that's like the biggest festival ever with one guy playing.
It's yeah, that's the biggest they've ever had there by a long shot. Um, it was yeah, it was insane. It was crazy. It was
And
all
that just speaks to the height of his power at that time. That you're in New York City. It's not
yeah,
Nashville. It's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
Oklahoma. You're in
yeah,
New York City,
yeah.
where you don't think country music fans and
That's
amazing.
why he didn't know how many people would really be there because they didn't sell tickets, so nobody knew. But like about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it was like, oh my gosh, there's already oh my many people's out there. And we had to get there at like, I don't even know, 10 o'clock in the morning. And we only had the bus to hang out on because it was, it was in
It's
a
a park.
park. And
Go over to
so we're
Strawberry
just hanging
Fields.
out on the bus all day long going, wow, this is crazy. You
I
know,
hope they
I'm
show up.
yeah, I'm been sitting here all day. I guess I better get ready. Something's fixing to happen.
What
But
about what about remote places? What's like the most unusual place y'all ever played?
well, we played some of the craziest. We played that Padre Island gig we did. Uh, it was, I think, about 39 degrees, sleet, rain, 30-mile-an-hour wind on the beach.
So at
It
South
was,
Padre, it was 30 degrees.
and it was live on TV. And we were like, we're surely not going to do this. He's going to cancel, I'm pretty sure. Nah, he ain't canceling. That was, we kind
What
of knew
about
he wouldn't.
what about the three gigs in a row in a day, or the back to back
Oh,
3 hour shows?
well, we did uh, the firefighters like relief thing in L.A. Back in the 2000, I don't know, whatever it was there. I can't remember exactly, um, but we did 5 shows in 2 days, and but that was probably a bad thing because that kind of let him and everybody know that we could pull that off.
Well, because I've heard you say, or I've heard somebody tell me that you said he's the only person you've ever seen that could lose his voice and sing it back.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen it. I don't know how he does it. I don't know. And he knows he kind of knows
He
when he
knows
can
the
do it.
instrument.
Yeah, and like he's like, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I just got to get it back. And but we've done when we got started on that arena tour in 2014. That was crazy. We were doing 12 shows in a week. We
Yeah,
were
because
doing
you were doing 2 a days, right?
we were doing 2 a days, and we would do we hadn't started doing matinees. We started doing matinees because that just worked out. Sunday was early, and
Yeah.
that was good in the afternoon. And then we could do a 7 and be okay. But the way it was going at first, we were doing like 7:30, 11:30, 12, and they were 2.5 hours. They weren't. I mean, that was part of the deal, and it was the deal with all of us, and it was the deal, myself. It's like I'm not going to ever go out there. I'm never going to
Phone it
go out
in.
play
You weren't
anywhere. and phone it in. I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that. I mean, the people are there. They've went through the hassle to be there, and even if you don't think it's whatever the gig is, if you think it's not a big deal, or you're tired, or you've played this many days or whatever in a row or whatever, those people haven't. They're there, and they've got a babysitter, and they've paid for tickets, and they've so you owe it to them. And so,
Well, and I'm going to tell you it's kind of emotional, really, because I haven't thought about it until just a few seconds ago. But like the show. I mean, I love singing. And No Fences and all that. Those were huge records for me. I remember, like, it was one of the first CDs that I ever got when CDs
yeah,
came out. And but I, as a senior, because I'd been singing and I was thinking about going to school for music, and I went and watched you all at Freedom Hall in Louisville.
oh wow, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it was like 97, 98. And it was like, I left, and it was like in my head, I'm like, I got to figure out how to do this the rest of my life somehow, right?
Yeah.
On whatever level, whatever that means. you know he was playing James Taylor, and he was singing Billy Joel,
Yeah.
and he swinging from the rafters, and you guys were smashing guitars, and like, it was, I was like, man, like, this is the, like, so I won that year. I won the state FFA talent show singing The River,
Oh wow.
and I beat some guy that was a state flat picking champion. Like, he was tearing it up. I'm like, there's no way I'm beating this guy.
Oh yeah, but that's
Sing,
awesome.
Singers always get the love. Like, the instrumentalists never get any
Well,
love, right?
it's a story,
Yeah.
you're taking somebody somewhere,
But and he didn't just change country music; he changed all music. But for me, like, you know, that was a pivotal time in my life where, I still went to college, and I still became an ag teacher, and I still did all those things, but it was never going to not be a part of my life.
Right, right, right. And that's the most important thing. And that's even to this day, that's like, I stay busy
Well,
doing
let's talk
something.
about what you're doing now. I find you in a studio. It looks like.
Yeah, I got my studio here at home, and I've done, I do, it's kind of, I like it. I think the product is better when I do it here, because I've got my mics I like. I've got my preamps I like. I can sit here, I can dial it in, and it's as good, or it's probably way better than it normally ever is anywhere else, because
Well,
I have my sound figured out here.
and that's the neat thing about, and even post COVID, like, during that time, we were all sitting around trying to figure out how to make music, and
Right.
it seems like a lot of my friends, and you were probably already there, but, like, we figured out how to set up the home studio to be able to. I can send you the stems on a
Yeah.
click.
Yeah.
Can you send me some drum tracks, and can you play this on that? And it kind of changed the game for a guy like me who, 2 hours away from Nashville with no budget. You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can I can do all basic tracks here at home with. I've got some Neve channels and some neat compressors.
Yeah.
I can make my voice sound good, and then I can send it to the best people in the world at what they do.
Whoever. Yeah. Yeah.
And for a couple $100, you get a track.
Yeah.
It definitely changed the game for me.
Yeah, it's a whole different. And I've done a bunch of stuff like that here. I mean, golly, I don't hardly ever go in anymore, and it kind of isolates you a little bit because you're not out hanging out with the tracking section and guys.
Well,
But
I was never more tickled than when you showed up for the Jericho Woods record that day.
yeah, that's fun. I like that. I like going in with
And
people, and I like being
that studio's been torn down.
gone. Yeah, I know, ain't that
Uh,
crazy?
oh my
That's I
god.
hate all that, but like Dolly stuff, I do all of it here. Her rock star album, I played on a lot of that stuff, and I did all the string stuff here. But when you're sitting and you're doing a section like strings, and you want to read, you're building strings and stuff like that. It's good to be in a place like this because I can sit with my own time and I can get it like I want it. I did a track on Paul Rogers' album that came out last year,
Oh
and
man,
and it's a
the
real,
best rock vocal of all time.
yeah, and it's real cool. It's a acoustic, cool, kind of hip song, but he wanted a string section in it, like, like a quartet kind of thing. So I did all that here and sent it to him in Vancouver,
Now,
and
are you producing anybody right now? Like, are you developing any artists?
not recently, not at the moment. For the last 2 or 3 years, I was working me and Johnny Garcia that plays with Trisha. Um, Trisha Yearwood's band leader for years. We were working with a girl, Audra McLaughlin. She's incredible singer. I mean, my gosh, it's insane what the girl can do. I mean, eh, it'll blow your mind every pass she sings. But we were working with her, and man, it's just hard to get, hard to get, and
Listen, man, there is so much.
you don't
They,
really know how to get things going, because even though people kind of, this is just me in my opinion, even though if you're watching Facebook and you're watching Instagram and people are making it look like they got a lot going on, probably they don't,
hey, people will tell me all the time, like, "Man, you're super busy." I'm like, I spend about 30 minutes every morning getting my post all together, and then they post at whatever time they're supposed to post, and I'm doing something else. It's like, yeah, you can give the illusion of that, man, you're really
Yeah.
out there cooking, but at the same time, it's like, what do they say? 10,000 songs get downloaded on Spotify or whatever
Yeah.
every day. It's like, how do you cut through that noise? I mean, knowing Garth Brooks isn't going to get you any special treatment.
No, I mean it doesn't. I
It's
mean, his daughter's out there busting it too, trying to get it going, and she's doing well. But it's but it's not that easy. And but we work with her, and when I met her, she was singing on a thing, and I've kind of done this, and it's just the way I am. I was like, I know that you can throw a lot of money out there and waste a lot of money and not and get promised a lot of promises, and she was such a talented, really sweet girl. She got like fifth on The Voice when she was on there when she was like 15 or something. And she didn't have a ton of money. She didn't have a lot of money to be throwing around. And I said, well, look, I'll help you. So I just kind of got started helping her, and it kind of turned into that. And so I produced tracks on her. We
well,
got
and you got to, as much as I love Nashville, you got to watch it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
commerce,
Yeah, it
and
is. It is.
we had a small record label deal, and I remember him. He was spending $3,500 a month on promotion and $4,000 a month on radio promotion, and
That's expensive.
oh my god! And I'm like, man, stop spending all
It
that money.
is.
Like, what
And
are you doing?
if you've got it, great. If you don't, then you really need help. You're going to have help.
Well,
And
and
that's
I think at the end of the day, it's like, do you love playing music? If it's just about playing music, then you can figure out a way to make that work in your life. Now, it's still hard for me to, like, comparison is a thief of joy, right?
right.
So I still see a lot of stuff like, man, if we hadn't stopped doing this, maybe we. But at the
Oh,
same
yeah.
time, it's like I'm gonna play music until I'm dead. So
Right.
it's like, how do I make sure that it's always fun and it's always attainable for me to do some things without getting myself in trouble. And I had the first band I was in. I remember when we quit. We'd been out with Little Big Town. Like, we had a really good manager, and had a lot of stuff going on. And we decided to step away. I think we owed him like $10,000 or something, which to me it might as well have been $1 million. And he was
Right.
like, don't worry about it, no big deal. We're like, no, we're gonna play, and we're gonna pay you back. And it took us like 2 or 3 years of playing weddings on weekends and stuff. But I don't owe anybody anything, right? So any help that somebody gives me, or any favor that somebody's done for me, I've always tried to make sure that, and not being an asshole has really paid off for me in most areas of my life. So
Yeah, and I always because you got to play music. You just if it's in you, you got to do it. And if you don't do it, man, I'll tell you, I think you just wither away, man.
yeah,
Because it's like I said, it's part of your soul, man. You're made that way. That's what you're made to do. You're made that way. If you don't do it,
You
you
turn
got
into
to
a
do it.
bitter old man who's yelling at.
Got to do it.
Oh
You
man.
just got to do it. And it doesn't matter to me, really, honestly. I mean, I obviously I love I love what I do, and that's that. I mean, I feel blessed that I'm able to do it at that level with somebody like Garth or Trisha Yearwood or Dolly or all those people that are just, and they're all great people. They're great artists. They're amazing talent. But and part of the reason why I like to stay playing is and I've told my son this because he plays. I said you got to play, because in your head when you go to play, you'll know whether you've been playing or not playing. And if you've been playing, you're going to go, what I got to worry about? I've been doing this. I'm
Yeah.
ready. Go. If you're sitting around not playing, then you're and so when we're off and we're not playing, I'll do whatever session with whoever, and I'll go play. If somebody asks me to go play, I most of the time will go play. A lot of people don't. They don't think I'll do it, but if they do, I'll go play. I'll go
Hey,
play.
I noted. I'm next time I record a record, I'm sending tracks to Jimmy Mattingly.
Oh yeah. And so, but I do that. A lot of that reason I do it is, one, I love doing it, and two, when I show up to play, with Garth or whoever, I feel like I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
I'm
didn't
like,
have to. You didn't have to work really hard for 2 weeks just to get tuned back up.
yeah, yeah, and and I like that. I like feeling good about that. But I think, and I tell people this all the time. They'll go, "Well, I play, but I just play." I'm like, it don't matter. If you should play. If you love to play music, you should play music. I don't care. Find some people and play music. Because
Now, my
back in the
wife didn't like me being gone all the time, but she also doesn't like me being home all the time.
yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, and
Well,
that is
what's on the horizon for you? Is there any tours you got coming, or any projects that you're working on that you're excited about?
well, right now, got we're on a little bit of a break with Garth. We'll go back out with him and do Vegas again for 3 weeks here
Are
coming
you
up.
going to? Is it at the Sphere, or are you?
No, it's at the Coliseum and Caesars.
Okay.
We've been doing that for a couple years now, and that's a great killer gig. I mean, unbelievable gig, easy and awesome, and it sounds incredible in there. And and so we're
Residencies
doing.
are probably nice because you can get locked in, like everything. You can just turn it off and turn it back on every day, and everything's set. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, everything's good. You're staying right there. You just come down. Here's your stuff. You're not wore out from traveling. It's all good. But that and probably some Trish Yearwood stuff do with her. Dolly's always doing some things here and there. I've done a few things with her recently, and so all they've always got things turning, and so once again I'm always sitting over here going, okay, Lord, you've been laying all this out for me really good. I think I'm just going to let you handle it,
Hey,
because
there you go.
I don't know what's going to happen when all these people get their things going on. Trisha and
Well, hey,
Garth's easy. They're easy because they work around each other, because he goes with her wherever she plays and she
okay,
goes with him. They're together all the time.
right.
Right. He goes with her and she goes with him. He'll just sit back in the background, and if she's playing, normally when we toured with her before and I went out with her, you won't see him. He's just kind of hanging around, uh, letting her be the star and he's the husband.
Hey,
And
well, before we wrap things up, because I want to take all night with you. Uh, brag on your family a little bit. Tell me about what your son's doing.
yeah, my son, he just got out. He went to Eastman School of Music and got his bachelor's, and he went to Indiana, got his master's, and he just got done with his course studies on his doctorate. He's just got his dissertation to do, and then he'll have that. And he's in search of a symphony job, teaching job. He could teach university with the doctorate, so he's looking for that. I've got
So he wants to teach.
yeah, teach and play. That's sort of the thing that a lot of his instructor when he was in Nashville is the Vanderbilt horn
Okay.
professor, and she's the first chair horn in the Nashville Symphony.
Okay.
So it's kind of like they double up, you know. and it's a
So
good.
if you're going whatever city that you end up working in, you're going to try to be in the Philharmonic or the
And do both, yeah, if
yeah.
you can, yeah. And then middle, my daughter is a elementary school teacher.
Love it.
She's awesome and loves it. I mean, just I'd want to pull my hair out, but she loves it.
And say
And
my wife is a second grade teacher, and
that's what my daughter's teaching. Yeah, second. Yeah, she loves it though.
well,
She
my wife said they're still sweet and they still hug you, and and
yeah.
they're not ornery yet like middle schoolers are. So I think she likes second grade.
Yeah, yeah. She loves it and she's got it going on. My youngest is a sophomore in college. So and she doesn't play. She can sing, but she doesn't sing. She can sing really good. She doesn't sing. But she's a musical guru. It's
Yeah.
like guys my age, they don't want to get into a trivia contest with her on 70s and 80s
she's
rock.
like she's like the record store guy. Like, you don't want to buy that record. You want to go over here and buy this record.
Well, she can tell you like 70s, 80s. She can tell you, what gauge string Randy Rhoads had on his guitar and what
Does she have music industry ambitions or?
yeah, yeah. But she's taken business
Okay.
and business classes. I don't think she's just a kid that goes, I want to do, you know, whatever in music. I think she wants to find, something that she can do in the business, like business manager kind of thing. Yeah, because
Okay.
she's doing business classes, so accounting and all that kind of thing. But she's also taking on the side because she goes to Lipscomb and they don't have. They're going to start a music business minor, I think. I've heard
Right.
rumor of that, but she's taking all those classes on the side.
Gotcha.
And she calls and she's like, yeah, they're talking about this and they're talking about that, and she's really really into it. But she, like I said, 70s, 80s rock, you can ask her about anybody
I love it.
and she can tell you all about it. So that and her record collection is sick. I mean, her
Primo.
vinyl, you if you saw it, you'd go, "Oh my God, this is perfect." I mean, she's got like Poco and the Eagles
Oh my God. Yeah.
and every Queen record that Queen ever recorded on
Well,
vinyl.
my kids have finally they've started stealing my records. They stole the record player and they had to buy another one. And now my daughter, she has the same music sensibility as I do. My both my sons are in marching band, and I think Will he's going to Western. I think he's going to try to be in marching band there, just so
Oh
he can
yeah.
play in pep bands so he can go to football games for free. But
Oh,
um,
that's awesome. Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's one of those things where you can do it your whole life, and it's just if even if it's not your career, it's something you can always do. And it
Yeah, and for me it's always great. My wife was always there I never had to worry about my kids, when I was gone on the road and touring and stuff. And that's a big thing. I can't imagine what that would
and
be
they
like.
have to understand, I'd always tell Paul, like, don't post pictures of us having too good of a time on the road. Like, leave me
Yeah.
out of those pictures because
Oh
I don't want
yeah,
to get them.
yeah.
Because I had mine were pretty little at the time, and were a lot of trouble, I'm sure. But yeah, you have to have a
Yeah.
supportive family to make it happen because it's a lot of sacrifice.
Keep the whole machine going and I mean, it's just if it's all just a great blessing and like when I did the Fiddlers Hall of Fame thing, I said, it's kind of nice to be this far down the road because now I can really look back and appreciate all
Yeah.
those moves that happened. It was like
Well, and like you
and
said, and I've heard a guy say, it's 5,000 different things that happen to get you to this level of stardom where you're finally getting noticed. Like, it's not like you make one move and it happens.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
thousand decisions where you said yes instead of no this one time, and you leave one band and go to another band not knowing what's going to happen, and it works out. That just it seems like you said, you've had a very blessed life, and you're still a young man. So uh,
Yeah. I'll tell
I
you though,
tell
one of
people
the
all the time, I'm 45, and I was like, if I live to be 90, like I can get in a whole lot of trouble in 45 years.
man, when I was 45, woo.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I know you're not that old. Um, Jimmy, thank you so much for taking some time with me today, and thank you for always supporting what we were doing and
Oh,
being
you
willing
guys
to
are
help us
awesome.
out. It was always nice to know we had a friend in Nashville and somebody that we could ask questions to that was going to give us a straight answer. So thank you for being that person, and
Yeah.
congratulations on your Kentucky Music Hall of Fame induction.
Oh, thanks, thanks. It was a big honor. That was a huge honor because I mean, in Kentucky,
Yeah.
we got some folks when I was up there, and that's a great place to go to.
Oh man,
Everybody should go up
Jessica
there.
at Blankenship is a friend, and she
Yeah,
does such a good job curating that. And
yeah. I hadn't really ever got to go through it and really see it. I'd been up there, and I was like, man, this is amazing. I mean, there's some because of the people we have in Kentucky. I mean,
yeah,
Loretta Lynn and Keith Whitley, and I mean, you just keep going on. I'd forget them all if I tried to,
yeah,
but it's amazing. You know.
it is a embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, but yeah, man, I appreciate. I love keeping up with you guys and what you got going on, and
Well, we'll have
all.
to, we'll have to get together next time I come to Nashville. We'll go eat some Hattie B's hot chicken or something.
Yeah, yell at me. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I'll be around.
All right,
Yeah.
buddy. Well, hey, I'll let you go. Everybody, thanks for watching another episode of Every Damn Friday. And when Garth goes back on tour, you better get your tickets. Because Jimmy's got bills to pay and mouths to feed. He got kids in school.
Yeah, I do. That's no kidding there.
Thank you, Jimmy, so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.